Here's the thing about Patina. First of all, I'm gonna talk about the cover. Everything's perfect about this. The oranges, the girls, Patina and her sister, and literally everything. Even the back's perfect. Literally, the boys are good here, and the blurb's awesome too. The only thing I don't like is how the title's written. It reminds me of all the ants that eat my instant noodles 2 years ago around the campsite, and I was terrified. We had to go get the ant insectant, but that's a story for another time. Don't pester about it in the comments, please. Not like anyone will pester them in the comments. Which is one of the reasons why I'm going to try to show that book as less as possible. Not that saying, yeah. Well, first of all, let me tell everything I know about this track series. As if you watched the previous episode, Ghost, you'll know that this black line means if you kind of look at how they look. Sure, they've been raised from different backgrounds, but the one thing I'm pretty been interested was that black line. And now we're stuck into the faded back line, the girl. It turns out she's the only main character girl in the whole series, and I once mistaken him for a girl, because like at a glance I saw a girl, and then, well, oops, it was a boy! And I feel really ashamed, and I decided never to actually talk about the subject again, until now. So that happened, and now let's talk about Patina. Patina is a book about Patina Patty Jones, as she's like to be called. Some guy accidentally called her Patrician. Also, that's not a bad name either, too. Is the fastest girl, like, at least among the girls, in the Defenders track team. That's what the track team's called, the Defenders! Coincidentally, that's also what I call my superhero team. Hope I don't get sued, too. And it kind of makes sense. She has got a lot to run for the kids at the new fancy new school she's now being sent to. The fancy new school! And to show the ones who taunt she's gonna be somebody. Like, hey, you're a nobody! Oh, really? That's nobody? Okay, you got me. Punch. Something like that. Also, without the punching, of course. And also for her fellow Defender newbies. And as I can imagine, my friends calling them noobs. To be honest, anyone new, they could actually insult calling them noobs, meaning that they're stupid and they're new. Which I had no intention of actually saying everyone's a newbie. Everyone was a noob at the time. Especially the founders of the whole thing. They were noobs at a point. But then again, I don't really see anything else going on about this. Ghost, Sunny, and Lou, their fellow newbie teams, actually to make them feel proud and to make them feel that they're united. I'm just showing you my friend for emphasis. United, and to make us that proud, make them 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 proud. Also, she runs for her little sister, assumingly called Maddie, and her mother, her real mother, not her adopted mother, who turns out is also coincidentally her auntie, who can never ever run again. Turns out running was her passion until she ate too many sweets after the grief of her husband, their dad, and it was their homemade sweets. So she ate too much of them, got obese. They had to amputate both of her legs. And the little kid Maddie said, "Why are you gone? Why are you gone? Can't you come back, please? Are you dancing and having fun with us?" And wrote a complete letter and asked Patty to actually mail it. Patty was lost of words for there. Did not know how to mail it, how to mail to legs that were amputated, and she did not even know what happened to amputated legs. To be honest, I have no idea what happens to amputated legs. Maybe I should ask my mom or Google it up on the internet, but I could just do that too if you not going to touch on the subject too. And also, she wants to show people how brave and how reliable and how strong she is. I mean, her actual real mother says she's not junk at all, and lots of people aren't junk, except for the people who say they're junk and act like they're junk, and the people who say, "Well, I'm not junk," but act like they're junk, like eat a lot of junk food and say junky stuff, like, "Hey, death in the dojo, how nice, there's a guy who died in the dojo, let's go find the body." Is that piece of junk or something? Also talking about junky stuff, like, "Hey, cute," yeah, something like that, and has very, very bad social manners, and has absolutely nothing wanted to do with anyone else. Well, it's like an outsider, and people tease people, and they do that for a reason. But maybe it's because they've been teased and they just want to release all their anger on someone. Punch. Hey, who did that? Hey, I gotta blame you! Fight, 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 fight! Like, it's always inside human nature for honor and dignity, too. Also, some people just do it for their honor and dignity. Others just do it because they're, like, pure anger and say, hey, you pinched me! Even though it's like... And they act like, oh, ow, like, something like that. And then they just want an excuse to punch the little kid. There's always people and bullies in the world, and there's always going to be bullies there. Whether it would be in any form, I have no idea, but whatever form it may be, there will always be bullies out there. And I guess there's one more thing that actually teaches us from all these books, that there's teammates and there's teamwork, and that your teammates and your team workers, if you have any, and if they are actually serious about you and you approve of them and they approve of you, will always be out there for you. Whether your teammates are your mom, your dad, or your friends, or just people who you're just gonna meet for a year and then just part because you're just forced onto this, but then you guys get along and you do not want to part like those sort of people, then they'll always be out for you. Also, always be brave and strong, and I guess one of the things that made this book interesting is all that pressure. She's always given pressure, so like Ghost, to be honest. And when she's given all that pressure, it builds up inside her, and I guess, as Ghost called it, my insides turn from black to red. That thing happens to her, except instead of being the insides of being black to red, it's more of patina to red from the inside, of course. And it kind of wells up, and then she blurts it out, and then she just takes it out on all the people. And like the other people, she has very bad anger management, and she has anger management issues. I have anger management issues. Almost everyone had anger management issues when they were young. Tantrums. Well, if you did tantrums. And I guess that's pretty much the problem with all this. People seem to think that you're born, you have to be a goody goody good too, unless like you're part of a criminal family, of course. But then you always realize and eventually figure out that you can be great and just look for purpose in your life. Sometimes people need purpose in their lives, and if you don't have any purpose in your lives, it's like running a race without a finish line. If you don't have a finish line, then there's no point running. It's like that infinity loop. Until you make a cut in there, there's no point in doing it, because all you're going to do is do the same thing over and over again without accomplishing anything. Unless you're those people who say accomplishing things are a waste of time and we should all be better for not accomplishing things. Well then, I guess that's up to you. But for me, I like to have purpose in my life. Lots of people like to have purpose in their lives too. And if they don't, and at least don't have even a general idea or a too general idea about their goal and their purpose, then they'll just go ahead and mad, and they'll just have pressure, and they'll just go into those big fancy words, depressions, pressures. I better need that dictionary for all those words. And according to this dictionary, depression is a noun with the plural being depressions, the first meaning being a feeling of great sadness and lack of hope, the second being a long period when there is less trade and business than usual and many people have no work. That's the historical depression. And the third meaning, a shallow and hollow or dip in the ground. I'm more talking about the first meaning though, and I guess that would happen to lots of people. It kind of happened to me. I had a big depression. I had anger management issues when I was in the third grade. Literally, when people tried to be friends and I asked to be friends and I said no, and then when they went ahead and tried to be friends with me, I like snapped at them, and I guess I was in a little bit of a version of a depression myself, because I was so snappy back then. I pretty much hated friends. Until the fourth grade when I made a sort of friend. I don't know if he was a good friend or not, because he was pretty much a bad influence on me. And then his brother was definitely not a bad influence on me. He was a pretty good friend, and coincidentally, he was a lot like my old friend. Except he was okay. Much okay. And I could see him every day. That's all I've got to say about Patina, though. One last note before I end this episode is that mistakes. The thing about life is that you go ahead in life to find mistakes. You might say, one mistake is too much. I know, because I'm a second place. Well, then you just learned a mistake. Then go ahead and fix that mistake. Or The mistake may be you. Why do you care so much? What's the purpose of all this? And then, if there is a purpose, then work hard for it. There's maybe a mistake here because you're just blaming yourself for not winning, when you shouldn't blame yourself. It's not your fault. Lots of people actually think that it's their fault because they lost the whole race. Sometimes it is theirs because they didn't train enough and they were just potato couches the whole day. But others who actually have worked hard for this event and, well, didn't get first place, always grouch and louch and saying, it's my fault, I lost, and go into deep depressions or go ahead into deep anger management issue days. But for me, whenever I had a short period of depression, and they always come in short periods, I would always get over it and find purpose in my life again. To live, to enjoy all the great things of life, try my hardest to get an easy life, but to work hard for it so that I eventually get an easy life. And that's all I've got to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed every other episode that I'll add to this track series. And I'll see you guys soon. Strand out. Peace.